Television is a powerful tool to teach children. Sesame Street has taught multiple generations about numbers and letters, as well as other concepts such as the importance of a healthy diet. Children need guidance. I'm sure there are many parents that are grateful when their children brush their teeth every morning because Spider-Man told them they should. Children can learn a lot of good lessons from a well-crafted show. Not just facts to memorize like letters and numbers, but also about abstract concepts such as the importance of courage and honesty. As adults, we like to think of ourselves as infallible bastions of knowledge, and kids would grow up fine if they just listen and not question us. But adults are not infallible, and children are not always wrong. Sometimes, parents need to be reminded that you can't always just force your kid to look at things from your perspective. Sometimes, you need to understand the world from theirs.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut in on your inspirational intro, but come on. Kids are dumb. You're not my kid. You're my pet. Pets are always awesome. I get that you work with kids and want to respect them, but let's be honest. Kids need to be told what to do. If they didn't, they'd just run around, misbehave, and get into trouble. Most toku just tells kids they should listen to their parents, and not be annoying little shits.
While that sums up a number of morals of various toku shows, that's not always the case. To me, some of the most memorable episodes are the ones where the parents and the caregivers are actually the ones at fault. It's true that children need a lot of guidance, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to them or show them respect. In fact, refusing to show them respect can cause the most harm.
Alright, fine, I'm game. If you can convince me that shows where karate bugmen kick monsters to make them explode have good morals for adults, then I'll...
Quit eating my snacks without asking.
If you don't label them, they're the apartment's snacks, not yours.
Ooh, that's good. Winner gets to be the apartment parent for a week.
I'm already a god. Wait, does this mean I don't have to take the garbage out for a week?
You never help take the garbage out.
But I'll have a valid excuse this time. As a parent, I have arthritis and cannot do any boring or difficult chores.
That's not how arthritis works. But if I'm the parent, I can ground you from drinking beer and writing Sonic fanfiction until you do some damn chores.
Yeah, we're agreed.
Today, we're looking at times Toku criticized parents. It's time for a transformation sequence. Before tackling this subject, I decided to ask Toku Twitter for episodes they thought best encapsulated the subject.
Why would you ever ask Toku Twitter for anything?
It's not so bad if you just don't follow every person whose profile picture happens to be a character you like. I got a lot of responses, and I decided to check them out. There was episode 26 of Ultraman Leo and episode 49 of Baten Robomaru. These were both good episodes, and I can see why they were suggested. Both of these episodes showed parents in a negative light with behavior that was negatively affecting their children. But neither one was really what I was looking for. There was a series recommended to me that I never heard of, Omoikiri Hatogumi, or Hatogumi for short. The person who recommended this said that it was very nuanced in how it presented the relationships between the kids and adults. Intrigued, I decided to check it out.
Are you sure this is Tokusatsu? I don't see any monsters. Where are the giant stuntman killing explosions?
Not all Tokusatsu is about transforming heroes. The creator of Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, Shotaro Ishinomori, made a group of shows that were part of a program called the Toei Fushigi Comedy Series. This includes the previously mentioned Robomaru, which was the second entry, and Hatogumi is the 7th show in this series.
You're telling me that the creator of Sentai and Kamen Rider made shows about magical girls and children with no powers?
I haven't done much research on the Fushigi comedy series yet, but it is fascinating to see Ishinomori step so far outside of what he is known for. I am definitely interested to look more into this in the future.
So, what makes this show Tokusatsu? It just seems like a bunch of children in shorts running around causing trouble.
It's not till the end of episode 1 that the Toku elements become more apparent. This show centers around a group of elementary school children. They are being observed and recorded by a strange man. You learn that the boys are not doing very well in school despite having incredible gifts. Their leader, Hiroshi, is good with computers. We also have a magician, a manga artist training himself to be a ninja, and a boy who can more or less talk to animals. There is a girl in the group, Yasuko. Unlike the boys, she's not failing school and is also a talented martial artist. Girl martial artist is a Toku trope I hope never goes away.
Who's this weird guy following them around?
That is their new homeroom teacher. It's through him that we are first introduced to our protagonists.
The adults in this show seem kind of pathetic. Did the ninja kid just look up that teacher's skirt?
Yep, that is a thing that happens. Hiroshi decides to play a joke. He uses his computer to create the phantom thief Matenro. He and his friends then film a small movie about this character.
These kids are actually talented. Pulling together a group of friends to make a movie isn't easy, and pulling strings to get that video shown during a class is... and now there's a small child peeing.
Yeah, Yasuko's younger brother is in the movie, and they don't know enough about film equipment to actually turn the camera off when they stop to allow him to pee. This causes a lot of anger at the school, but fortunately, the teacher is able to keep the boys from getting into too much trouble.
This is all very interesting, but when does this become a tokusatsu program?
At the end of episode 1, Hiroshi's keyboard is stolen by Matenro, the thief he created. Matenro is able to perform incredible feats and just straight up magic. Matenro is more or less the element that qualifies this program as tokusatsu.
I see. So the kids form a group in order to catch and stop this phantom thief that Hiroshi somehow created.
That's basically the gist of it. Unfortunately, only episodes 1 and 2 are available with English subtitles on Toei's Tokusatsu World YouTube channel. While superhero shows are targeted at kids, the Kamen Riders and Sentai teams are meant to be characters to aspire to. This means that they act as role models and oftentimes talk down to children to teach them lessons.
It is interesting to see a show for children that stars children. Even if the protagonists aren't always in the right, it still feels like Ishinomori was trying to talk to children at their level, rather than as an omnipotent, all-knowing being.
As of the time this video is being recorded, fan subs for Hatogumi are still being worked on. It's a shame because I really am fascinated and interested in this show. I really want to see how the adults and children interact with each other. I don't see it getting a full international release anytime soon, and so I'll just have to wait for the fan subs to become available.
Are you going to talk at all about Tokuger, or anything written by Naruhisa Arakawa?
I don't want to go in depth about things I've already talked about in other videos, so I'll just briefly cover them. Tokuger is a wonderful show about what it means to grow up and put your childhood behind you. It also has some of the best interactions between Sentai heroes and children. Naruhisa Arakawa is one of the big 3 writers of Tokusatsu alongside Toshiki Inoue and Yasuko Kobayashi. He has been the head writer of multiple popular and successful series. He has done several episodes criticizing parents who neglect their children, as well as a couple of episodes in Kamen Rider Kuga criticizing how Japanese society and school force children to grow up too fast and deprive them of their childhoods. If that all sounds interesting to you, you can check out the videos I did on Tokuger and Naruhisa Arakawa.
Again, this is all very interesting, but you haven't actually presented anything that directly supports your argument.
The truth is, there are actually 2 Sentai episodes in particular that originally inspired me to do this video. One was from Zyuranger, and the other was from Liveman.
What? You can't use Zyuranger, that's not fair. I can't negate anything you use from my own show. My ego won't allow it.
A lot of adult Toku fans snub Zyuranger, and I've been guilty of that too. But when the show hits, it hits hard! And even though I wouldn't say this is one of its best episodes, it's one of the episodes I think about the most, even years after I finished watching the series.
It'll be nice to hear something positive about Zyuranger, other than it's so much better an adult than Power Rangers, blah, blah, blah.
This episode was actually recommended by someone on Twitter who was unaware that I was already planning on using it as an example. At the start, it seems like your average episode. Within the first few minutes, we're introduced to Toshio being dragged by the ear to school by his mom because he forgot to do his homework.
Why are Dan and Boy hanging out at the school? How does Boy know Toshio?
It's weird, but I find it more believable than the Zyurangers just happening to be around every single park full of children that Bandora decides to terrorize. Very early in the episode, we see Boy express concern about how Toshio is treated by his mother.
Fuck that kid. I'm on Dan's side. Children need to be punished or else they won't behave. Whoa, that was scary.
A lot of the creative camera work in Sentai goes into the fight scenes or other action sequences. When rewatching this episode, it stood out to me that we get 2 scenes of adults yelling at Toshio where the camera is used to try and put the audience into Toshio's perspective.
I can actually relate to that. As a toy, the world is so giant to me. We take it for granted, but a child is also small, and the world around them is very big, and an angry adult can look like an angry giant or monster. Still, that kid is a little shit and deserves a spanking.
The monster for this episode is Don Don. He is a dwarf from the fairy woods who wants to be a sculptor. Putty Putty-Con put an ad out for an assistant since Bandora wants him to make monsters faster than he can produce them.
Oh gods, it's Tickle Sneezer, Trini's stupid doll. That episode was so dumb. It was a dream sequence. Why? Why did they do that? There was no reason to do that.
Footage from this episode was adapted into the Season 1 episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, For Whom the Bell Trolls. Don Don and Toshio become friends, and because Toshio is in so much of the footage, it was just unusable for Power Rangers. Don Don isn't killed or defeated by the Zyurangers, and so there is no sequence of him getting killed by Daizyujin. This is probably why they decided to make everything a dream, since they couldn't actually use the Zyuranger footage to show the monster being defeated and turned back into a doll or whatever.
I still hate that episode.
Fair enough. As I mentioned before, Toshio and Don Don become friends. Don Don has magic bottles that can trap any object, allowing him to use that object as a reference for his sculpting. Toshio decides to help Don Don collect things so that he can become a better artist. This predictably causes a large amount of trouble, which attracts the Zyurangers, causing Boy and Dan to get trapped inside a bottle.
As much as I hate the Tickle Sneezer episode, the MMPR team actually did a good job of recreating the effect of Dan and Boy stuck in a bottle with Billy, Trini, and the Radbug.
Editing and directing in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers manages to somehow be both incredibly lazy and incredibly genius simultaneously at times. Don Don and Toshio didn't realize that they were also trapping innocent people inside their bottles, and they let everyone go.
Even if they saw the error of their ways, they deserve to be punished.
That's what stops the episode from ending right there. Toshio's mom and teacher realize he ditched school and come after him. Bandora takes advantage of this and tells Toshio that his only way out is to become powerful enough to defeat the adults. So she grows him and Don Don larger.
Wait, am I seriously being beaten up by a child?
The Zyurangers don't want to hurt Toshio, which puts them at a disadvantage. Seeing a kid wield the God Horn is actually visually very appealing to me.
If it weren't for those accursed writers, I would have just smacked that kid.
What exactly is your relationship to the show? Are you from a reality where Zyuranger is real? How exactly does this work?
We've been doing videos together for over 2 years, and you're asking that question now?
Fair point. The Zyurangers manage to gain control of the fight, and Toshio's mother demands that they punish him.
Seriously? What the fuck? She just saw her son turn into a giant and her concern is him getting punished? That's kind of fucked up, actually.
Yeah, it is. And Boy directly calls her out on this. There is no middle-of-the-road moral where both parties are at fault. Boy straight up tells Toshio's mom that she's been a bad parent. She's forced to confront that even though Toshio is now a giant, he's still cowering in fear of her. In her attempts to discipline him, all she did was make him scared of the world around him.
Maybe I was a bit too harsh on him before. He should do his homework, but failing to do your homework doesn't mean he should be physically abused or yelled at.
Especially since it doesn't actually help. Yeah, if kids do wrong, you should be stern and strict with them. But if your only objective is to make them feel bad, then that's all that happens. They just feel bad. They don't actually learn anything. If all his mother and teachers do is yell at and berate him, he's just gonna keep making the same mistakes over and over again.
Wait, the mom actually apologizes to him? Huh. Even in episodes where parents are in the wrong, we usually don't see them apologize to the kids directly like this.
Zyuranger as a show has a number of flaws, but when it hits the ball, it gets a home run. And this episode is one I feel doesn't get enough praise. Adults are not perfect, and when we make mistakes, we should apologize to our kids the same way we ask them to apologize for their mistakes. I think it's fair to say that I'm winning at this point.
Yeah, you win.
I knew you were going to... Wait, what did you say?
You were right. I was being incredibly unfair and disrespectful to the children watching these shows. Yes, I know this is the sort of thing we do in the episode's finale, but I don't have any counter-arguments. Sometimes parents and adults are shit and need moral messages just as much as their kids.
I'm glad I didn't have to fight you on this. The thing is, though, I still have a lot I want to say, and I don't want to end this episode right here.
Then don't. Sometimes it's okay to break away from the usual routine. So let's go into the final stretch here without any animosity and just work together.
You've already found a way to use me winning the bet to your advantage, haven't you?
Yep. Don't tell him how. He has to wait till the end like everyone else.
Let's just get on with it.
Before we get into Liveman, let's do an honorable mention to all the Cram School episodes. Cram School attendance rose dramatically in Japan during the 70s and 80s, and has become an ingrained part of their culture and education system. So, naturally, nearly every mainstream anime or TV show has had an episode commenting on them. Even all the iterations of Sailor Moon have episodes about evil Cram Schools.
It seems like most people in Japan are aware that overstudying and overwork is bad for kids and that they should be given more time to play. So why is the Cram School still around?
It's a bit more complicated than that. There are multiple types of cram schools that serve different purposes. Some are to help students that are struggling in their regular classes, but others specialize in helping students pass their entrance exams for desired high schools and colleges.
Shouldn't they already be learning all the important information to pass their entrance exams while they're at school?
Unfortunately, many schools don't. When you have a class of 30 to 40 or so kids, you have to average out the level. You can't only teach the advanced kids because the struggling kids fall behind, but if you make the class too easy, there isn't any information useful for the more advanced learners. The truth is that it's not only struggling students that need cram schools. Students that have specific dreams and specific schools they want to attend need cram schools to help them pass the entrance exams. From the Western perspective, it's easy to just say, shut down the cram schools, but it's not actually that simple.
Liveman has a cram school episode that is fairly interesting. Red Falcon, or Yusuke, befriends a young boy who has to attend cram school because he is failing his classes. He is great at woodcarving and wants to create a great sculpture in his future.
Mazenda is using her monster to help kids instantly get better at studying so that they skip cram school and play. This turns them into lazy pigs that can easily be controlled.
The villain's plan in this episode is kinda stupid. But I like the interaction between Yusuke and the boy Jun. Throughout the episode, Yusuke is trying to convince Jun that if he works hard, he'll be able to overcome this hard time in his life. Yusuke even tells him that he won't instantly get better. It's something that he just has to keep practicing at till he gets a little better each time.
Yusuke is a better teacher than the one we see at the cram school, who just insults Jun for not being able to solve the math problem. Fuck that guy. Yusuke gives Jun a project of carving a totem pole to show him that large things can be done if you do it a little bit every day.
This is actually an example of an effective teaching method. Yusuke observed something Jun had a talent for and tried to help him using that interest and gift. Yusuke should be the cram school teacher.
Though Yusuke does slap Jun in the episode when he's giving up and just wants to take Mazenda's easy way out.
This episode does show its age with that scene, and it's unfortunate. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like an angry old man yelling at kids. The lesson of the episode is that kids need to work hard and study, but the episode acknowledges that it's hard and that hard work doesn't instantly equal success.
While this has been an interesting diversion, this isn't the Liveman storyline you wanted to talk about, was it?
No. The 3-episode arc from this series that sticks with me, even years after watching it, is the story of Dr. Obler and his mother.
Do we have to talk about Liveman again? It's so old. In general, I like the practical effects of the Showa era better, but I like the increased focus on character and story that the Heisei era brought to Tokusatsu.
I actually agree for the most part, but there's a reason Liveman is so beloved by the adult fan base. While it still has the silly, over-the-top cartoonish antics of Sentai, it has a story it takes seriously.
The intro establishes the mood very well. Holy crap! Did people die in the first episode?
Our villains are not aliens or random monsters that show up out of the blue. They are classmates of our heroes. They decide that they don't like the world and agree to be disciples of the big bad Professor Bias in order to create a world ruled by geniuses. On the night that they join Volt, they kill 2 of their classmates and friends.
So, the members of Liveman are not just fighting for great justice. They also want revenge for the death of their friends? It's not often you get a real intrinsic motivation for the heroes.
On top of that, we also get flashbacks to a time that they and the scientists of Volt were friends. While wanting revenge, they are also trying to figure out what made their former friends change and desire power.
That does actually sound very compelling. Maybe there is more to Showa than I give them credit, and what is this crap with a dinosaur?
While Liveman is one of the more dramatic Sentai, it's still pretty silly most of the time.
Dr. Obler's gimmick is that he turns himself into a monster. The transformation is supposedly irreversible until episode 19. Obler creates Study Brain, who forces children to memorize the Volt Bible.
Did Liveman's head writer just really hate cram schools? The episode opens with Yusuke saving a boy who's going home at night because he went to a cram school that he hates. Yusuke organizes a baseball match just to give this kid something fun to do.
While Study Brain is fighting, he is accidentally launched onto a roller coaster and has fun. He abandons fighting because he just wants to play. Obler's brain beast was made from his own flesh. Yusuke figures out that Obler was a child who just wanted to play and not study all the time.
I mean, I guess I've heard worse villain origin stories, but I was forced to study too much as a kid is kind of lame.
This is the episode that introduces a new antagonist who's an alien. And it gets kinda weird. And I'm just gonna sidestep that whole plotline. While fighting the Livemen, Obular reverts to his human form. This causes him to be rejected by Bias and thrown out of Volt.
With nowhere to go, he returns to seek shelter with his mother. Wait, Obular's mom thought he was just dead this whole time? He never contacted her?
No, she knows nothing about him joining Volt. She just knew he was missing. So of course, she's overjoyed to see her son is alive.
He doesn't even hug her or anything. He just goes straight to his lab and she's happy about that?
This ties into what we learned about Obular before. His mother thought he was a natural genius and did everything she could to nurture his talents. So she ends up feeling proud that, even now, he's thinking about working and inventing.
Okay, I'd take back what I said before. I'm starting to see what made him turn evil.
He regains his monster form and in front of his mother fights the Liveman. He is still at odds with Volt, and during the three-way fight, he gets severely injured. And here is where we get to the heart of the story. Yusuke finds his mother and appeals to her to try and help her son regain his humanity.
He basically just calls her a bad parent like Boy did in the Zyuranger episode. He calls her out by telling her that the reason Obular didn't play and devoted his life to studying was to make her proud.
To make matters worse, Obular wasn't chosen to be a member of Volt in the same way Kemp and Mizenda were. He saw that they were tested and pleaded with Bias, who let him join out of pity.
The pressure Obular's mom put on him at such a young age gave him a severe inferiority complex. Being smart wasn't enough. He had to be the best.
What I like about these episodes is that Obular's mother feels like a real person. Often in these shows or in anime, when the parent is at fault, they are often depicted in a cartoonishly evil way. Zyuranger did okay, but the mom in that episode was still a bit over the top.
Even though Obular's mom was wrong in how she treated her son, it was from a place of love. She thought she was doing the right thing by him. She just didn't know how her high expectations were forcing him to push himself beyond his limits.
In the end, Obular's mother apologizes and risks her life for him, allowing Obular's humanity to be restored. But he's still so tired and exhausted. Things don't magically become happy. The relationship between him and his mother is still broken, and there's a lot of work for them to do.
But now Obular, well, Go, since he's human again, knows that he doesn't have to compete with everyone. He doesn't have to be the smartest or the best anymore. He can rest.
Just because something is aimed at children doesn't mean they're not the only ones who can learn something from it.
Adults are not perfect, and sometimes we need to be reminded of that. I mean, I'm not an adult. I'm a mecha, which means that I am perfect. But even I can be short-sighted and yes, thank you, Kumard. Exactly.
I won! I won the bet! That means I'm the apartment parent. So, take out the garbage.
As my parent, my bad behavior is your responsibility. You should be punished for your inept parenting. Violence against your children is wrong. You should let them play and be kids.
Fine. I'll let you have that one.
After all, childhood is something we all only experience once. A technicality.
Remember, if you have kids, listen to them. Their feelings are important, even when they're inconvenient. That's all for now. Till next time, may the power protect you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. The thumbnail for this video was provided by True Buster. Buster makes good YouTube content, so feel free to follow them in the links below. The soundtrack for this episode was provided by the talented James McCullum of Marshland Media. So if you enjoyed listening to the music of this video, feel free to follow Marshland Media in the links provided in the description below. In addition to being a musician, James also co-hosts a Tokusatsu-themed podcast called Mostly Speakin' Sentai. It's a fun little podcast that's definitely worth your time and your ear.